At the beginning of September, I embarked upon a 60-day experiment to find out whether all the hype I've been reading about Pinterest was true, that it could really make a difference to my small business. So to give you a little introduction, my name is Catherine Salt, and I am the founder of Marketing My, and I specialise in social media consultancy. As well as that, I have my own lingerie boutique, which has its own e-commerce store. So that's a perfect test case for us. So throughout this webinar, I'm going to be sharing my top tips on growing your presence on Pinterest and the real results that I achieved and that you can too. So today's session, we're going to start with what I was trying to achieve with the experiment. Then I'm going to take you right back to basics on how you can set up your personal profile and how you can find people to follow. So in order to have be repinned, you need to have good content. So I'm also going to give you some tips on how you can optimize your images for maximum effectiveness. And then we'll be going through setting up a Pinterest contest and the experience I had with the Pinterest contest that we did for my lingerie business. And then we're going to round it all up by seeing exactly what happened in those 60 days and the results I got for all my efforts. So starting off with what my objectives were. I already had Pinterest boards set up, so I wanted to look at increasing my followers considerably, right out to 5,000. I was hoping there'd be some sort of tipping point where the increase would grow exponentially, and this growth was anticipated to be centered around my amazing Pinterest contest. I also want to generate more traffic to the Plums Lingerie website, as that is one of my main objectives for all my activity on social media. And that is done by helping raise awareness of my products, and it will result eventually in generating sales online. So how was I going to achieve this? I set out to ensure that the Plums lingerie website was Pinterest ready. So I added a pin it button to all the products on the Plums website and then added a pin widget to the homepage. Now this is really simple to implement, and Pinterest has a business page which has all the bits of code you will need to implement this. You just need to go to Pinterest, business.pinterest.com, and you'll find everything you need. Now my target was pinning 50 pins a day, and I really quickly found this was a lot trickier than I thought it'd be. Not only did it take an awful lot of time, but I struggled at the start to find enough content. Now I'm going to be telling you how I managed to solve this problem when we go through the results at the end of the seminar. In order to increase my following, I wanted to follow 20 pinners a day. I found a variety of techniques to find relevant and interesting people to follow, which I'm going to share with you in a moment. I also endeavoured to build on the community aspect of Pinterest by commenting on 10 different pins a day. I quickly put this activity aside due to the amount of time I spent pinning and the low response rate that I was getting from it. So let's talk a little bit now about getting set up. I think one of the reasons Pinterest has become so phenomenally popular is because it's really simple to get started. You can easily go to Pinterest.com and start an account with your Facebook login, your Twitter login, or just an email address and a password. It also has a guided tour to help you get started. So I will show you some of the things you need to make the most of your Pinterest profile. Everything you need to know is in the menu that you see when you click on your name at the top right of the screen. So the first thing you want to do is go to the settings page. Here you're going to find information to enable you to edit your profile, change your email notifications, and link your account to other social media platforms. So let's start with editing your profile. There's an increasing number of spam accounts on Pinterest. So to ensure that people will know that you're a real person, it's important to complete your profile. Start with adding a photo of yourself and popping in a little bit of text about you in the description. Give people an idea of the sort of things that you're interested in, and it's going to give them more of the reason to scroll down and check out your boards. When you have your profile, it's time to get cracking and set up some boards. You can do this by going to the menu at the top right of your screen and clicking on the little cross that you'll see there. You'll see that the third option there is to create a board, and you're given some fields to complete. When you're thinking of a name from your board, try and think of something that's going to capture attention and intrigue people. To click on it and see what else that you're pinning. One of the new features is that you can add a map to your board. Now this is great if you have a business maybe with multiple outlets, you work away or travel a lot, or for example, if you're a big foodie and like visiting different restaurants, you can add them all to a map. You also have the ability to make your board secret so no one else can see it. I use this when I'm looking at content on social media or something that's not related to lingerie. So when you have some boards set up, it's time to find some people to follow. If you go to the settings page, you'll see that you can link your other social media networks with Pinterest. Then it will find people on those networks that already have a Pinterest profile and suggest that you follow them. Another way to start finding people to follow is using the search option. And you'll find this at the top left of your screen. Pinterest search option's not the most sophisticated, but you'll find some people by using key search words. However, if you use longer phrases, you're going to be given a different set of results, and this is often a good way of finding more relevant people to follow. When you find a pinner that you want to follow, don't feel obliged to follow all of their boards, just the ones you're going to find interesting. Otherwise, when it comes to looking at your dashboard, you're going to be finding an awful lot of stuff that you don't want to see. Also, check out the people who follow you and keep an eye out for the ones that look like they could be spam. Unfortunately, there's a lot on the platform at the moment, and this means the links they share go to irrelevant sites. Every time you repin, you'll see a notification. Every time you have a repin, you'll see a notification on that pin. And if you click on this, it will show you all of the people that have repinned it. This is another way of finding people to follow. And when you repin somebody else's pin, you'll get a notification on who else has pinned it. Pinterest also has group boards. These are boards that have multiple contributors. They often have a large number of followers if they are updated regularly. You can ask to join these boards. Many have a board describing how you can do this. Otherwise, I suggest just putting a comment in one of the pins asking if they will add you. Now, it can be difficult to find group boards, so here I've put a list of pinners that you can search for who collate group boards. Now, Pinterest is a highly visual network, and to ensure that you have lots of repins, you have to have content that captures people's attention. I've read a lot of articles based on the statistics of what are the most repinned images. For example, they recommend close-up details, images including people, and they've got lots of other helpful tips. However, I've found that my most repinned images don't follow the rules. So always experiment and see what works for you. Mix up different types of content. My top tip for your images is to use longer shapes that take up more of the page. The width of Pinterest images is 220 pixels and the length is scaled accordingly. I use Ribbit.com to make up long collages. You don't just have to use images. Quotes are also very popular and can be done either on a blank background or over an image. If you are producing your own images, I recommend always watermarking them with your URL. This ensures the image is always linked to you, because you cannot stop people from changing the description that you've added or the link attached to the image. Before you pin your image, you need to add a description, making it relevant to the image. I wouldn't recommend writing anything too long, just enough to gauge a bit of interest. You can also use hashtags in the description box to help your pins be found in search. Pinterest is open to Google, which means your pins could come back in Google search results, so it's worth optimizing them. In addition, you can add the URL to your description box. If you've linked an image from your website, it will go to your website when it's clicked on. However, it doesn't hurt to add it into the description as well. So now we're going to talk about Pinterest contest. I was really excited to be running a Pinterest competition. I've been to a few webinars about Pinterest and heard that businesses were getting fantastic results from running a contest. Perfect. This is going to be a great way of increasing the number of people that follow me. Fantastic. Unfortunately, for me, Pinterest has recently added some rules for people running contests. They no longer allow you to call it a pin to win. You can no longer ask people to pin anything specific, i.e. content from your website, or run it as a sweepstake, which encourages more people to enter. Now, you can see all the new rules here, and you can check the slides afterwards to go through them, as I'm not going to go through them all now. These rules are designed to reduce the amount of spam and ensure that Pinterest isn't just taken over by competition. However, there are many larger organisations running competitions that don't follow these rules. But I've always been one to do what I'm told, so I decided to see how it would work if my contest complied. So I started off by choosing my objectives. For me, it was increasing the number of followers and encouraging people to visit plumslingerie.com. The format I chose was that people had to create a board called My Lingerie Loves and fill it with lots of lovely pictures of lingerie. The winner was to be judged by myself and my business partner, and the winner would receive £150 worth of lingerie from Plums. I used an application called Wishpond, which had a 2-week free trial, which suited my 10-day competition. Using Wishpond enabled me to integrate with my Facebook page and my blog, as well as ensuring that I would have all the entrants' email addresses. The word out, I emailed the Plums mailing list of over 2,000 people, invested in some Facebook advertising, added to the Plums website, and produced some pins about the competition to share on my boards and a number of group boards. So, how did I get on? Well, the results were disappointing. I only had 7 entrants, a small number of followers, and a really low number of repins. The total investment for this contest was £240, which included the Facebook advertising. The best results actually came from that advertising, which brought in 99 new fans to the Plums Lingerie page. I believe that had I not followed the guidelines, my level of success would have been a lot higher. Considering the number of people that work for Pinterest, I don't anticipate they're going to be able to police this. And if I run a contest in future, I'm going to be encouraging people to repin from my website and make sure they have to pin specifically about the competition. Despite the disappointing results of the contest, overall I was pleased with the level of activity from this experiment. So here we have my most repinned image. This is repinned just over 400 times. Prior to starting the experiment, the most number of repins I achieved was about 20. Now, the reason these repins are so important is they are all links back to my website. So I've got an example here to show you the ripple effect on Pinterest. So I have a lovely pin of a red bag. Now, if that pin is repinned 5 times, it's going to bring 6 links to my website. Now, if those 6 links are repinned 5 times, there's 26 links. Then again, it gets to 126 links if those are all repinned 5 times. And then finally, it could get to 625 links back to my website. So by pinning just 10 images from my website today, that could result in over 6,000 links back to my website. So if we're going back to my original objectives, I wanted to get 5,000 followers. This is wildly over-optimistic. I anticipated that the Pinterest contest would have a much more of an impact. So I've only increased my followers up to 2,257. However, my web results were a lot better, and I overachieved by over 100 visitors a month. And the great thing about Pinterest is that your content keeps repinned over and over again, whether it's just uploaded or you posted it 2 months ago. And a great example of that is that my previous repinned image of the blue lingerie set has now been repinned over 1,900 times since I took the screenshot. So I would say my takeaways from the 60-day Pinterest experiment is that it can take an awful lot of time, but the more time you spend, the better results you're going to get. I'd recommend tools such as Viral Tag to help you schedule your images. There is a monthly cost, but frankly, the time that it saves you, it's really worth the investment. Also experiment with the different times that you get repins. I found that often the evenings are best for my pinning, and this is probably because the USA has the most number of Pinterest users. Make your images nice and eye-catching, so they stand out. And you don't have to just use photos. You can add text. You can even repin blog posts. Just make sure you've got an image attached to it. If you do decide to do a contest, I really recommend not following the rules. Realistically, considering that Facebook has taken to scrapping restrictions because they can't police it, I don't anticipate Pinterest is going to be able to stick to these. And finally, don't make assumptions on what people will repin. Always test and learn and experiment. Thank you for joining me for my 60-day experiment. My next experiment is going to be on YouTube. You can find more information about that on my website, www.marketingmy.co.uk.